All right, should we call the meeting to order and start the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, announcements. We actually have we had 2 checks over $25,000. One of them was for Schultz Ford, which is for a DPW dump truck and recreation vehicles, which came out of the operating budget and capital budget. It was $70,282.58. There's a second one, which was for Bucci Excavating, which was for road repairs, curbs, and various other DPW projects, which came out of both the operating budget and the capital budget. That was for $66,525. Other announcements. Tomorrow there will be a meeting at 6:30 p.m. at the Senior Center. So that's both a time and a location change from the original email blast. We'll be sending a new one. But 6:30 p.m. tomorrow at the Senior Center down in Scenic Hudson Park, we'll be meeting with Town of Greenberg officials to discuss the revaluation, reassessments that have happened. It's not going to be a personal grievance where you can go in and tell me that, or not tell me, tell Greenberg that your neighbor has, central air and 100 square feet more than you, and you've been overassessed. This is about getting the information out there, what possible mitigating scenarios Paul Finer's coming up with, how we got to where we are now, why we're doing it, and how to grieve it, but not your actual personal grievances tomorrow. So if you want to hear more about how it all works, how your taxes are paid, what percentage goes to the town of Greenberg, why we shouldn't secede, all those things, that'll be covered tomorrow. But your personal, if you feel you're overassessed, make an appointment with Tyler. That's not the purpose for tomorrow night. But again, 6:30 tomorrow in the Senior Center.
And you're e-blasting this out?
We are emailing.
Yes.
We
just nailed the location down.
Yeah.
Not long
About
ago.
an
So
hour
it's at
ago,
the
maybe.
Senior Center, not at the, it was gonna be at the theater here before.
It was going to be. It was going to be here.
It was never in the theater.
The school sent out an email blast that said it was in the theater.
Yeah, right, this morning that went out at the theater, correct?
Yes, but it's
That was never the case.
yeah. Somehow the school got a little misinformation. They got the time right.
Senior Center is big down there, how much space?
It's not big, but it's bigger than this. It's probably about 100.
From what I understand, there's a lot of people going.
We had to have it at a place where we could also videotape it and broadcast it. So that's why we were kind of limited to here, library. I guess that was it. And the top of the rec center on Main Street. So we have the biggest of the 4 options. Unfortunately, we can't broadcast from our theater, which almost seems counterintuitive, but
It's not available anyway, so.
and it's actually in use tomorrow night also. So. But maybe going forward, we'll our next bound of money from the cable companies and Verizon, we'll try to wire that. That's it for announcements for me. Anybody else have any announcements?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that I got in the mail, and I'm sure others did, the village village mailing talking about the community choice aggregation, which is now called something totally different. What's it called? Power Smart or something like that?
Power Smart.
Yeah. And the Westchester Smart Power initiative, and about how you can actually sign up for an ESCO and get 100% green power, et cetera, et cetera. But, so you'll probably get this in the mail if you haven't already. But I also got a announcement in an email from Sustainable Westchester that their website, which is where you need to go to change your opt-in, opt-out, or your preference for 100% brown versus 100% green, which is the default for the village power. They sent that link out, and I assume Larry's going to be posting that on the village website, so everyone can get to that and make their choices or make their adjustments if they need to.
And Sustainable Westchester should be sending a mailing. I got a mailing today.
Yeah, they said it was going out.
Just starting to go out.
Mine arrived today with the card in it.
Yeah.
And those mailings are going to be going to specifically people who are not in the ESCO program right now. They haven't picked an alternative.
Con Ed customers.
So they're strict Con Ed customers, right?
So there's no more announcements. We'll get to correspondence. First is from Marion and Bob Connick. Dear members of the board, we strongly recommend rejection of the by the Board of Trustees of the Brightview Development Proposal. We urge you to do whatever you can to preserve and save the beautiful, magnificent white column building on North Broadway. Sincerely, Marion and Bob Connick. Next one is from Mariana Movic. As you're all aware, the town of Greenwood residents recently received their new assessments this month. As residents of Irvington for 71 years, I'm absolutely one of the many appalled at the new assessments that are going to be levied by the residents on the residents. It will be impossible for those of us who receive 50% increases to pay the proposed new tax. As a retired couple, my husband and I have never and will never see an increase of 50% in our Social Security or pensions. How does the administration of Irvington and Greenberg expect families to come up with several $100s a month increase to pay that assessment? Here's a look at all these new assessments go up to plan to accommodate constituents. Sincerely, Mary and Peter Adamovic. Hopefully they'll be there tomorrow night. And then there's a late edition. It actually came in, we try to have it cut off on Friday at noon. Karen actually wasn't in Friday, so this didn't make it in, but our old colleague, Kristen Wall, wrote, Dear Mayor Smith and Trustee, is subject to Solarize Irvington. Dear Mayor Smith and Trustees, our Architecture Review Board recently denied an Irvington a resident's application for a solar panel installation. The reason provided is that the front roof is an unacceptable location for panels. No neighbors had objected, and this is a personal taste of 3 board members foisted on the village and residents. I did that backwards, resident village. As you know, solar panels must face a particular direction to be effective. This opinion of the ARB is referred to all residents whose roof face that direction. The code does not prohibit installation on front roofs. Most of us think that solar arrays are more pleasing than asphalt and tar shingles. In this particular case, not one resident objected. When we residents see solar arrays, we feel hopeful for the future and we're glad our neighbors are saving money. We feel proud that our community is proactive in facing environmental challenges instead of putting our heads in the sand and pining for the olden days. Especially ask that you, Mayor Smith, and trustees request the Architecture Review Board abstain yourself from vetoing village code by implementing their own policies on support environmental and economical private home improvement. Also, an ARB member appeared at the residents' appeal to the zoning board. Again, not one neighbor or Irvington resident other than the ARB member objected. However, the ZBA was forced to postpone the application in the interest of civility and to a profound inconvenience of the resident. Thank you for your service, Kristen Wall, 58 West Clinton Avenue. And now we will open it up to public comment. We'll now close it up to public comment. Moving on to the consent agenda.
So Brian, one question
Yes, sir.
on that. I assume we are going to be talking more about solar.
We are.
Array
Our next
code at the next work
our next
session.
work session next Wednesday, we're going to be taking that up. We had talked about it, I guess. We should talk about it briefly at our meeting, our last meeting, and our village attorney had done some good research on some best practices, and trying to accommodate both appearance as well as kind of falling in line with our ambition to be more solar friendly. Trying to find that right balance between protecting neighborhoods as well as increasing solar use in the village. So our first major meeting on that will be next Wednesday.
And just so you know, I won't be there for that work session, but I can watch it and actually what it is now.
Critique us?
No. To find
Yeah,
out.
but I think you've given us a lot to chew on.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because from now, what you guys have to do is make the policy decisions, and then whatever you decide on,
Right,
I can write it into a law.
right. So you've gotten us to, you've led the horse to water.
Giving you the stuff to chew on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I was kicking around the idea of moving that to the 18th, but
Okay, that's fine also.
we'll settle that. It'll be settled soon. There's that,
Okay.
and then there's also the request for road dedication that has to be scheduled in there as well, so
We'll figure those out.
yeah.
One thing I was going to suggest, for those who haven't, and I did the other day, which was kind of eye-opening, if you take a drive up Sycamore, the entire length of Sycamore, there's a good number of solar panels already on Sycamore facing south or facing the street, especially nearer toward, I don't know what that's called, Park Court or Park something, that little street. Parkside, right, over in that area. And then if you go back toward where this particular house that Kristen was talking about, I think it's 91 Dogwood. It's interesting. It's worth taking a look just for experiential sake to look, from the car, but to get out and look from the street and see what you think about the issues, because I sort of feel like we shouldn't just be talking in a vacuum, but to be looking at some real
practical as well, yeah.
some neighborhood examples.
Yeah, I've seen pictures, but I haven't had a chance to ride up there yet.
Yeah.
Excellent point. Consent agenda? Anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Sorry.
It took me a while to figure out why the two different peddlers permits were different, but one was a truck and one was an ice cream cart, so I guess that's the difference. They don't need a parking spot.
Correct.
Yeah.
The event that the peddlers, and this is part of this, relates to a festival of sorts that Eileen Fisher is having,
It's like a
correct?
color,
Yes,
color run. Yeah.
Color Fest,
So there's like a
related
run
to
along.
their leadership, girls' leadership. I finally put two and two together and realized that's what this related to.
Right.
But that's, I guess, open to the public.
Yes, actually today's
Yes,
the last
that
day.
might be
for-
an announcement.
Today's the last day for early bird sign up, so I think you can go onto the, trying to think where the exact website was, and that was on the Facebook, it was on Facebook today.
So it's Color Fest or Eileen Fisher.
Eileen Fisher Leadership Institute, EFLI is the abbreviation I keep saying.
Okay, so you can go to that website tonight. If you don't sign up by today, you pay a little more to participate. And if you sign up today, I think you get free sunglasses and a t-shirt, so, yeah, until midnight.
And a free hot dog.
Oh,
Just kidding.
I want an ice cream.
Bring cash.
Just kidding.
So, if there's no further questions, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A request from Donardo Development Corporation for determination of specific provisions of the Fair and Affordable Housing Chapter of the Village Code with respect to the proposed attached single-family dwelling development at 30 to 40 South Broadway.
You know, the resolution on this is self-explanatory. You want me to read it, Brian, or?
Sure.
Okay, there's a substitute one, and I think only changing the address, I get 40 instead of 30, or 30 instead of 40.
So the one that's here is-
But I think if I read it, then it's self-explanatory. Whereas in January 2016, Donardo Capital Corp. applied to the Irvington Planning Board for site development plan approval of a 27-unit townhouse development at 3040 South Broadway, which includes 6 fair and affordable housing units under the Village of Irvington zoning code. And the proposed development will adaptively reuse and convert the existing single-family house at 40 South Broadway into 2 affordable units, and will build 10 separate buildings at 30 South Broadway, each consisting of 2 to 4 individual townhouses, one of which will contain 4 affordable units. And the average square footage of the market rate housing units will be over 2,000 square feet, with a proposed maximum gross floor area of 2,800 square feet for the largest unit. And the market rate units are all proposed to be 3 or 4 bedroom units. Whereas the fair and affordable housing regulations of the zoning code require that the affordable units shall be distributed among various sizes, meaning efficiency, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, in the same proportion as all other units in the development, unless a different proportion is approved by the Board of Trustees as being better suited to the provision of fair and affordable housing. And the Board of Trustees believes that the goal of providing fair and affordable housing would be better achieved by a mix of 1, 2, or 3 bedroom units. And the zoning code also requires that the minimum gross floor area for the affordable housing units be not less than 80% of the average floor area of the market rate units, unless the Board of Trustees determines that a floor area of less than 80% is better suited to the provision of fair and affordable housing, in which event the board may approve smaller units, so long as additional fair and affordable units are provided in an amount that would make the total floor area of the affordable units roughly equivalent to 80% of the average floor area of the market rate units multiplied by the number of affordable units required. And the Board of Trustees believes that the goal of providing fair and affordable housing would be better served by providing a greater number of affordable units smaller in size than roughly 2,000 square feet, which would be 80% of the average size of the market rate units. Whereas the development of 27 units would require that 3 of them be affordable, and 80% of the average square feet of the largest market rate units is 2,240 square feet, multiplied by 3 is 6,720 square feet, which is the conservative maximum space footage of affordable housing that must be provided. And whereas the proposed development contains 6 affordable units ranging in size from 1,200 to 1,400 square feet, which significantly exceeds the square footage required. And therefore be it resolved to approve the location of 2 of the 6 affordable units in the Donato Capital proposal in the existing building at 40 South Broadway, and 4 of the units in the separate structure at 30 South Broadway. 2, that the provision of 6 affordable housing units ranging in size from 1,200 to 1,400 square feet, and the provision of one one-bedroom, 4 two-bedroom, and 1 3-bedroom. Now, to make clear, this is not approving the project. This is just saying if the project is approved, these kind of deviations from the affordable housing requirements. I know there's people here, neighbors here on this Nardo thing, but this is just on the affordable housing thing.
Okay.
And I tell you, the site plan approval of it is before the planning board Wednesday.
Okay.
Wednesday night. The meeting starts at 7, but it's last on the agenda, so they probably wouldn't get to it before 7:45.
That's why we're here, we just wanted to protest that.
Being last on the agenda? That's Donardo's usual spot.
And they will get to all the issue, it'll be the exactly right time for you to raise the
Fine.
issues that you've raised
Thank
at
you
the
very
various
much.
meetings.
Thank you.
So on this, in terms of the discussion of this is the only thing we're deciding on, is this, as you
If the
described.
project is- If the project is
Right.
approved, then this is how the affordables can be distributed.
Interesting.
Correct. And this is the exact, we put an exception in our law, so we have this flexibility when a unique project like this came up, where it had an adaptive reuse of a historic building, that obviously it's not the letter of the law, it's not contained on the site with the other buildings. The sizing didn't really make sense potentially.
Yeah.
We got more of them as well, and we get to save a historic house. So we were able to, we set ourselves up for this, frankly, but we were able to kind of look at this intelligently and figure out what's actually best for Irvington, as opposed to just kind of taking the cookie cutter law we have in our books and applying it.
I think of Brian in particular, looking at the average demographic or average statistics of the houses, size of houses and so forth in Irvington in particular, you're talking about stuff that is just could not be made affordable housing at 80% of, 3,000 square feet or whatever, or more. These happen to be, the largest one's 2,800 square feet, but they're just not, there's no way that that can be reasonable, which is why I think we originally approached generating that adjustment to the model code so that we had more flexibility in these areas. So I'm really glad that we had that tool in our arsenal, so to speak, that we could pull it out and make something happen that's to the benefit of the entire community.
Agreed.
I think this is well within the spirit of what we are trying to accomplish with affordable housing, that you've really thoroughly done the math about how to make this work. I also very much appreciate you taking the suggestion to make one of the units a 3-bedroom so that they're not all 2-bedroom units. And with the added benefit of preserving the existing house, I think this is very much a very positive outcome for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to just point out that this is completely consistent with the discussion that this board had for the last year when you were considering zoning change. I mean, in terms of looking at pictures and the concepts haven't changed. So this is really just the final approval of that part of it going forward.
Right, and I think if, as the public understands this, I believe that when they hear the term flexibility, they will realize it's not flexibility to somehow build less in terms of affordable housing, but to configure it in a way that's appropriate to the village and to this particular site. That's what we worked on for a long time, and this is just finally putting it into effect in a real development. And as Mary Ann said, it doesn't have anything to do with the final plan and what the buildings look like and what kind of drainage there is. It has nothing to do with that. It's just this part, and I certainly support this.
Agreed. And this isn't the first time we've spoken about this either. We've been talking about this for, probably a year in abstract, and then for 6 weeks, maybe 2 months since we, kind of finalizing it. So, As you don't have that much to say.
No.
Other than patting ourselves on the back and patting the guitar.
It's great. Keep it coming. It's real good.
It's just a little bit of time for happy talk. Right?
Yeah, every once in a while. So,
Wait until Wednesday.
yes.
So resolve to approve, one of the, did you guys read the resolution at all?
No.
All right. As outlined by the attorney. I'll make the motion, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Oh. Yeah.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, they're leaving.
So now, I will open the public hearing to consider the zoning code to permit the assembly of recycled fabrics into new products and their use in the business B district. Easy for me to say. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Public hearing is now open.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming, good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, I guess we talked about this last meeting as well. We announced the public hearing, but I don't know if you want to give us the
Oh,
background.
yeah,
again,
it was,
Marianne?
this was a request that came in from Bridge Street Properties, explaining that Eileen Fisher had, a use he wanted to be able to, use in the Stanford White building down there, that, that was taking recycled fabric and making them into new products. So it doesn't involve any manufacturing or anything, it's just assembly of already existing things. The use wasn't a permitted use in the business district, so this just permits the use wherever the space is at least 20,000 square feet and when no manufacturing is longer permitted. So it would be used as a permitted use. I did do a short environmental assessment form. It's not going to have any negative impacts at all. It's very similar actually to what's going on there now. And this law would permit it.
This is a pretty unique case, and it's, I think it's fairly straightforward, and it's also fairly narrow.
It's a very narrow use. I mean, one of the things somebody said, when I raised with somebody, well, it's really narrow, but you take a look at a lot of uses. The funeral parlor is a very narrow use, you know? They actually are spelled out quite narrowly, so.
This will be an interesting one in like 40 years when someone looks back and says,
What were they doing?
One thing for sure, the funeral parlors have pretty stiff requirements, right? Yeah.
Good, Mark. We heard from the county, and the county was fine with it.
So this is just like one more item in the enumerated list of what's allowed.
Yeah,
Yes, I mean, it's,
along with funeral parlors. Banks are a narrow use. Actually, a lot of uses you have are just really very narrow uses. This is a narrow use.
now are unique.
But one that's like no bad impacts at all, actually really sort of positive impacts for the environment and is a, you know, a way of doing business.
Right. Reusing fabrics, that's an amazing positive.
Well, apparently where it came from, what was?
The water use is,
Yes,
yes, very high.
The amount of water that's used to create one t-shirt is just enormous, apparently. And Eileen Fisher doesn't like to see it wasted, so then they'll make it into new things. Try some new stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I would say this is pretty consistent with their with Eileen Fisher's typical socially and environmentally conscious among. So.
makes me think we should have some benefits for more environmentally aware, beneficial type business to come to the village. I don't know what you do
Well,
to set up.
Well,
When they asked
this
it,
actually
it's a
is
good example.
This is a step in that direction. They said, we want to do this, and he said, yeah, it makes sense. Why don't you amend the law to allow it?
Right, so that's,
So that is taking.
that's a big hurdle
big
that a
step.
village might say, you know, I just can't imagine changing our law for that.
No, I'm thinking about something that's much more of a proactive kind of, honey, bait to get businesses to consider. But I don't know what that is. That's so far off from what we're talking about right now.
Try to encourage other businesses to come and recycle
Little fabrics.
Other fabrics.
Not just fabric.
Okay.
Other environmentally sound businesses.
Funeral business.
Right.
Anybody have any other comments from up here? All right, we'll open it up to the public for questions and comments. Recycle kids.
Well, there's a long line for comments.
Yeah. If the public is satisfied, I will make a motion to close the public hearing. Can I have a second? All in favor? Resolved that the proposed local law is an unlisted action under secra, and that the Board of Trustees has reviewed the EAF and determined that the zoning change will have no negative environmental impacts, and therefore issues a negative declaration under secra. We can't do a positive declaration, or a negative. And be it further resolved to adopt the local law amending the zoning code to permit the assembly of recycled fabrics into new products as a use of the business B district. Someone like to make a motion?
Mark should.
Okay, I will. I was going to leave it for you because
Someone like to second it? There's no fighting over here. I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't want anyone fighting over
and I don't even wear Eileen Fisher. You know.
But your wife does.
Yes, I know. She loves it.
Next is a public hearing to consider the 2016-17 operating budget. I will make a motion to open the public hearing to consider the operating budget. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's open. We've obviously talked about this probably at least 4 or 5 meetings. I think we've come to a sustainable as well as responsible budget, which is always our goal. I know that inflation was almost near zero, but to me the realities of life, according to CPI, which I'm not necessarily a huge believer in, when you have healthcare go up 7-8% every year, I find it hard to believe that there's no inflation at all. But I would like to really thank Brenda and her staff, as well as Larry, for putting together and laying out a great budget. I'd like to thank all the department heads who did an unbelievable job, you know, not only during budget season, but I think the thing that's, to me, most encouraging and what makes this time of year easy on the 5 of us is that our department heads think about the budget all year long, and they look to save money all year long, not just when we push them at the end of the year, but you know, every department's always looking at ways to be more efficient and more effective. So I have to thank all the department heads, but especially like to point out, you know, or to single out Brenda, who actually isn't feeling well tonight, so she isn't here for her 15 seconds of fame. But she knows how much we appreciate everything she does all year, but especially during budget season. I think this is a very responsible budget, and there's no tricks or gimmicks. Very sustainable as well. So.
And first of all, I want to say I second totally everything you're saying. There's no Larry, there's no changes in it from what we have seen, right?
No,
Yeah.
no, you know, ordinarily there could have been,
Yeah.
and then they would be considered here, but there's been none since the tentative budget. I don't see any open items at this stage either, so it's really just, this is what we have.
And this version is posted online, right?
Yes, it has been since March 18th.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy with where we are, and I also think that the process, as you said, Brian, it's in place really all year, and I'm not sure when that really happened, but since I've been on the board, it's certainly been a sense of how we take our fiscal responsibility as board members, that it's not something that just happens, you know, for 3 or 4 weeks and all of a sudden we have to figure out the budget. But we know Larry and Brenda are on top of it all year, and that's communicated to the departments. And, you know, if we ask questions, we get information, we set some vision, but this is the work of a whole year, really. And it looks pretty simple when you just say, okay, we approve it. It's not simple. And I too appreciate everybody who works on it.
I think my one other odd observation is every year when I look at this, it looks like some kind of like 1830s map of the United States, where we don't have Florida yet, and we don't have all of Texas.
Is that Maine up there?
I think, yeah.
We took a little piece of
We took
Canada?
some Canada back
Okay,
there.
well, that's all right.
But the
No
Louisiana
Texas.
Purchase has occurred.
Exactly right. Yeah, but something happened with Spain during not Florida. Every year I look at it, I'm like, that's definitely the East Coast.
I think I just heard Mark volunteer to do a new cover for next year.
Well, Mark, if anybody's going to draw something, I think it better be Mark.
So I don't bring this up again?
No doubt about it.
The other side is this might represent something after 100 years of global warming. That's
Very good.
Sorry.
I think a little slow down Irvington, Rip Van Winkle might be just as appropriate.
Our sleepy budget.
Anyway.
So anyway, we'll open it up to the public for comments now. And please let everyone else speak first before you speak a second time.
I wonder if we should actually allow Skype or social media comments, you know, like,
You can tweet.
Like
That'd be
live?
great. I could read tweets. Like on,
Live tweeting?
like, yeah, live tweeting like on a late night show.
Ah,
yeah.
Maybe next year.
I wonder if we get any comments.
Okay.
I guess.
But if there's no further public comment, I will make a motion to close the public hearing if I can have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I will further make a motion to approve the 2016-17 operating budget if I can get a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
And thank you, Brenda. I'm sure you're listening on the internet.
I hope not.
Yeah. I figured if you hear about it.
Rest. Yeah, exactly.
So the next one, we have some, this is kind of approving recycled fabrics in the business district and, have a license agreement for 129 Main Street. Aren't something we have every week or month or year. So, you want to give us a little background on this one?
Yeah, this was,
We talked about it already.
a request made by, the property owner at 129 Main Street, which is the building, I always call it where the dollhouse store used to be.
Yeah.
Up on Main.
Dearman.
And, I think a part of their stairway already, impinges on North Dearman Street. And, they need to, put in a handicap, compliant ramp to provide access to the building and then a stairway upstairs. So since they're already over the street, but so this is a license agreement that would allow them to be there because I guess the building department didn't feel like it could even process their application because they were on village property. So this is a license agreement that would permit them to do it. It's a revocable license, so if the village ever needs that part of its street for some reason, that part of its right of way, they can lose the license on notice. And pretty much that's it. And it says, that if the village does need it, if the village says, you've got to get rid of your handicap ramp, then they have to restore the property to its previous condition. And it's got an insurance requirement and then just a small fee, a one-time fee of $1,500. We talked about an annual fee, but then administratively it hardly pays for itself. So the $1,500 fee would cover up any expenses involved in writing this up. So pretty much.
Can I ask you one, what might be a dumb question? Why wouldn't this be just done as an easement agreement? Why was it
Why
done
an
as a
easement?
license?
Why a license? Well, a license actually is a lot simpler than an easement. An easement is an easement agreement is almost like a conveyance of property. A license agreement is saying we're leaving you permission to be there.
So easements can't
You
have
can have
a rebate?
revocable easements, but if it's revocable, it's just easier to do it by license.
Okay, just,
Yeah,
I
and
don't-
it doesn't, I guess you wouldn't have to file your easement down at County Rockers, but you don't need to, it's just less trouble, and it's easier than for you just, if, let's say you needed that space for some reason to say, hey, the license agreement's over, that's the end of it, where if it's an easement and it's filed, you have to go file with the county and stuff, it's just
okay.
I don't think that was a dumb question.
I think it's an interesting, it makes sense now that you've explained, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been the first thing because I got confused. It's like, we're licensing the street? It's like,
Well, think of license is permission,
yeah, I'm thinking of
it's
license,
permission
like
to be there.
licensing, I don't know,
Well, you're licensing driving, you're permitting somebody to
Or-
drive on your streets.
Rip Van Winkle, licensing, that kind of stuff.
Intellectual, yeah.
Intellectual
Oh,
or-
intellectual
or-
license, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, okay, so there's lots of kinds of license.
And there's no expiration date, right? It's only a term. Yeah. I looked for one when I had to, because it
Yeah.
mentioned if it expires or is
vote
No,
on it, but
no, it expires when the village says they want it.
we should put like 9,000 years on it. I always like to do those.
It's gonna be chiseled in the side of the building for perpetuity.
We haven't wanted it for the 90 years that this building's probably been there, or more, 100 years, I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Should be okay.
Well, this follows up from a presentation by John Malone, as I recall, showing us all the, the pictures and the way in which it would work and the details of it. So I feel comfortable with this,
That's
given all
also
that
a
background.
strange one where if we said no, basically, they couldn't put in like
They
a
couldn't.
handicap accessible ramp and things like, so it's like,
They can't improve things.
And don't they have a problem with their basement stairway as well?
That's in this area,
Yeah, so it's like,
and they're fixing them up, which is helpful.
exactly. They want to improve the building and they need a little bit of help from us.
Okay.
all right.
Resolved to approve a license agreement with Ann U. Foley of 88 Lovers Lane, Madison, Connecticut, owner of real property located at 129 Main Street, to provide for the uses of the sidewalk area on a portion of North Dearman Street for certain improvements subject to the issuance of a building permit, including approval of the Architectural Review Board. I will make a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of contract 2016-09 with Pascal Gerlich for Farmers Market Management Services. My understanding is this is
Same.
exactly the same one as last year,
Yes.
and the year before that. and the year before that.
It changed,
No,
it
it
might have
changed.
changed a little bit last year, so.
Change the.
Oh, I did, you're right.
But similar,
Yeah.
but it's same, this one's the same as last year.
Yes. Anyone have questions or comments on this?
No, I liked the change last year, so I'm glad.
Yeah, exactly. The change last year was good. So, resolved to group contract 2016-09 with Pascal Gerlich for Farmers Market Management Services and to authorize village administrator to execute the contract subject to the review and approval of the village attorney.
You don't need that, right? I'm sorry.
I already.
Yeah, Mary Ann was able to review it, so I'll scratch
Execute
that.
execute contract, period.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion, got a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So when does it open?
Oh, the first
Probably first week of June.
I believe.
Usually,
I mean, that's the first official Hastings weekly. They're having a couple in, they had one last weekend and then two in May, I guess, that are going to be sketch can on the weekend.
I will bring some specific information to the next meeting as I get more details. I've been in touch with some of the committee members.
Reports of boards, standing committees, and officers. Trustee liaison reports. Mr. Gillen?
Not too much. There's, as always, the various committees like the Green Policy Task Force and Tree Commission and the Environmental Conservation Board are looking for members. They want to have additional members and would like people who are interested in environmental related issues to get in touch. You can get in touch with myself or with Larry and get some more information and find out when the next meetings are. Generally, the Tree Commission's on a Tuesday. I think it's, now I'm going to be speaking out of turn. It's tomorrow night, but they're probably going to move it. So what does that make it? The first and third Tuesday? And then ECB is like the last Thursday of the month. They're scattered all around. But it's definitely a nice way of doing something to help support the village, and you also get to be more connected to some of the other things that are happening in the village. And then for the other interesting thing that's sort of getting blown up a little bit is anyone who's been reading the Enterprise will know that the Slow Down Irvington has sort of been picked up by the village officials of Greenberg and the villages to come up with an idea of slow down river towns. So I don't know what the fabric of that's going to be like, but I think it's interesting that people are picking up and realizing that working between communities, communities, working between the villages can actually be helpful, rather than each one trying to address issues, let's say, along Broadway on their own. Obviously, issues on local streets are probably best handled by each individual municipality. But looking forward to seeing how that evolves.
Yep, absolutely.
Congratulations on that. I don't know, have we vocalized your congratulations yet? But like I said in my email, you've started a movement, or the committee has started a movement.
Yeah, I know.
So
And I think it's great because the same thing happened with Love and Live, right? I mean, it came out of the Green Policy Task Force, and before you know it, it's all over the state. We've been getting the Green, not the Green Policy, but the LELE folks have been getting emails from Ukraine, for instance, last year. I think it was, they were asking for more information about
Mulching?
leaf mulching. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Very cool. Okay, so from the rec department, big shout out to Village Boy Scout David Chu. So David organized a technology seminar at the Senior Center. Over 20 Irvington seniors attended, and David actually raised enough funds to donate 3 iPads to the Senior Center, so they'll stay there permanently. And the seniors who attended were taught basic functions, email setup, how to Skype with their grandkids and others. So thank you to David for doing that. And go Irvington seniors. Please mark your calendars for Springfest. It's being put on by the FACE Committee, and that is going to be May 14th. It will feature local bands, maybe a zip line, beer, wine, great food. So please mark your calendar and come out and support the FACE Committee and the great initiatives that they support. The Irvington Woods Committee will host a community day on May 7th at the O'Hara Nature Center. There will be more information on that to come. Dogs on Leash in Matson Park is in its 5th week. That's a pilot program, and it's going pretty well so far. Let me just
Are
check
you
real quick.
taking your dog?
I don't have a dog
I heard you
currently,
did.
but not currently. But a lot of people are taking their dogs. Early bird day camp registration starts this Wednesday from 3 to 7 p.m. There will be additional early bird dates on April 13th, 20th, 27th, and April 30th and May 7th. So you can talk to Maureen DePauli for information on that. And hold on one second, I just wanted to make sure. Adult softball leagues start this Sunday, April 10th. This year we have 34 adult softball teams participating in 3 leagues. This is the highest number of teams we've had in over 10 years. Teenscape travel camp registration is ongoing. And that's it. I'm sorry, the Irvington Woods Committee will hold their February meeting. It was rescheduled, so that's going to be this Wednesday night at the O'Hara Nature Center.
Excellent. Okay, Connie?
So I attended a meeting last week with the Historic Hudson River Towns. That's an organization we belong to, the village belongs to, we have for years and years and years. And I always find it interesting. They promote Irvington along with all the other many towns. I guess, I don't know if Yonkers is part of it, but all the way up and down the river. They have an incredibly popular what do you call it? Facebook and ways to reach them. You just put in Hudson River and they come up, and Hudson River something something. So they get a lot of input, and they are essentially helping our tourism effort in various ways, and well as many environmental things they do. But they had a speaker talking about this proposed Sing Sing Prison Museum project. This is a very, very big project for the region, and certainly for the river towns, if it comes about. They're doing a lot of feasibility work on it, and they feel that as a central focus with a very historic cell block that they could actually have visitors see would be a big drive for not only just coming there, but for a whole discussion about criminal justice and the progressive role that Sing Sing played back in the 19th century. So the big question was, how was it going to all be funded, which they haven't figured out, nobody's figured out, but they've done a lot of work, and it could happen, and it could have a big impact on people visiting the Hudson Valley, and I think that always affects us as well.
So cell block kind of as a Airbnb,
Yeah.
you know, so you can come and stay.
Come and stay in the cell block.
Multiple uses.
Well, everybody's been to Alcatraz, right? You all know what that's like. I never stayed overnight in Alcatraz, but I don't think I would, but it could be an incredibly, but I mean, this is a couple of years away, but it's the vision thing, and I think it's important as we look at the economy of the region, you know, we're part of it, and it's kind of good to keep in the loop. The other thing that, I know this seems so far away, but I have been working with the planning of what you want to think about after the May event that everybody goes to. But in June 19th, Father's Day, is celebrate Irvington as we did last year. And Mark and Janice and others have been involved with this. But I did want to just send a shout out to Irvington businesses, because one of the local businesses has taken a lead role to work with other businesses to want to promote this day. That's the Seasons on Hudson Flower Shop. And they, if you stop in to see them and speak to Miko, she's looking for all kinds of ways to get excitement on Main Street. And she started a hashtag, am I doing this right? Hashtag Celebrate Irvington. And you can find her use of the artwork that is from our local artist, Jennifer Orkin Lewis, on that site already. So she's looking for photo contests and all kinds of things. So I just want to, at this point, not tell people about the whole schedule, but just to encourage businesses to get involved. There is no chamber, but that's an important piece that we need to know is going to happen in order for this to be a good success. So that, and the theater, there's a movie Friday, the Penny Pizer movie called Still Point. I think there's also a cabaret on Sunday, if I have that right. That would be the last one of the season. So as always, check the Irvington Town Hall Theater and you know, support those local efforts. There'll be another film series of women who present films that have been chosen for another film festival. So that's coming up in the month ahead. I think that's all. Okay.
The highway and water departments have, as usual, been balancing day-to-day tasks that they have to do with seasonal work, with the unanticipated emergencies. And one of the things that happened recently on Sunday with that windstorm just yesterday, 4 trees went down on Mountain Road, Cyrus Field Road, North Broadway by Hamilton Road, and Ardsley Avenue. Not in all cases was a tree down, but wires down, the road was blocked, wires on the tree. And the point is that we can't clear the roads until Con Edison comes and moves the wires. So if you're ever in a situation where you're feeling frustrated because your road is blocked, our guys can't get out there until Con Edison comes and clears the wires. And obviously it's not just us, so be a little patient. Maintenance of winter equipment, filling potholes, hauling organic debris to work on the rain gardens, cleaning catch basins, and maintaining the storage facility at the transfer station on Mountain Road. The water department has been reading meters, installing radio transmitters, spring maintenance, lowering the reservoir due to recent rain, which I have a feeling involves a lot more than that short sentence says, replacing a sewer pump at South Astor, and cleaning and restacking water pipes and hydrant at the storage area.
Before I move on, actually, I forgot to make the announcement at the beginning. This Friday, April 8th, at the Town Hall Theater, Irvington resident, or former Irvington resident and native Penny Pizer will be presenting her documentary.
Did I just say
Oh, you did? Okay. I didn't hear you say it.
On Friday, there's a movie. There's a movie.
Yes, but it's $10.
Say it again.
And it's at 8 o'clock.
Right.
So.
No, it's worth
It should be
saying
great.
twice, believe
Yeah,
me.
and I meant to say it at the beginning, so I forgot. So we'll hammer it home.
Right.
And then we'll move on to the village administrator.
Nothing tonight. I do have a matter in executive session for the board.
And village clerk treasurer is not here, and the village attorney. Public comment.
Please limit to 3 minutes. There we go.
Good evening. Rick Rosula. 3 things. One is, well, actually 2 of them have to do with events coming up that weren't discussed tonight. On May 7th, the day before Mother's Day, the Irvington Woods Committee is putting on a spring event. There'll be things for just about every age to do. Animals, Greenberg Nature Center is involved with animals. We're going to let children make either an herb garden or a flower garden for their mother for the next day. Excuse me. On the very next weekend, May 14th, is going to be the Face Committee's Spring Fest down Matheson. There'll be lots of events for kids. There's going to be attractions for kids, inflatable attractions for kids. We're looking at the potential of having a zip line for adults, I should say, and there'll be beer and wine and other attractions. The third thing is I wanted to address the issue, the ARB issue that came up in correspondence when it came to a particular house on Dogwood Lane. The issue came to in front of the ARB a few weeks ago. When all was said and done, we looked for the integrity of the community and to try to keep the community, the harmony of the area. We also looked at the fact that when you drive up there, you actually physically have to go up there. I'm glad you said it earlier, because the vote was 3-2. The 2 people that voted against it on the ARB actually were never there. They tried their best to get there, but the 3 of us that were there, as you drive up, you don't even have to get out of your car, but if you get out of your car, you certainly see that that the front of the house, these panels will clearly be seen from the street. And there are no other houses on Dogwood that have this situation. So we tried to, look at it in that respect to try to maintain the character of the neighborhood. And in fact, what Mark noticed is something that I noticed quite some time ago, that on Sycamore, there are many houses that have, I shouldn't say many, there's probably 3 or 4 that have, and this came up. Actually, I went to the ZBA to, present the ARB's position while they were, speaking about it. And in fact, ZBA at one point, I believe, was about to override the position of the ARB. However, when I explained to them that if they go on the village's website, there's a 5-page document in addition to the checklist for the checklist for this particular situation. Also came with a letter from the ARB from 2009 that spoke to the fact that, directly to the fact that it may not be desirable to have these on the front of the house because of the character of the neighborhood. It just explained everything that the ARB is charged in reviewing. At that point, the chair of the ZBA asked, or told the person who was arguing the case, that he wanted to review it, go back to the website, see exactly what it was I was talking about. I even actually gave him a copy, the 5-page copy of the document. So at this point, it'll be up for review again the next time the ZBA meets. I think it's the 24th of this month. On that same note, I was happy to hear tonight that you're going to start reviewing this. I just was a little bit concerned that the ARB didn't seem like the ARB was going to be invited to participate in the conversation, or at least be present for the conversation to offer, their opinions on it.
Yeah, I think we haven't finalized the date yet. It's going to be next Wednesday or the one after. So.
But it's probably also just really preliminary. We just got a stack of material to look at, including stuff that was sent to us by Sustainable Westchester via Nikki Coddington sent it to us. There you have a whole document that I guess is available from probably off their website as well, but about how to make your, removing obstacles, impediments to solar energy installations and so forth. So that might be also something good. Did you get a copy of that? Because I could forward it to you.
I think you might have asked me this once before.
I could, you know what, I could forward to
Everything.
to Rick,
Yeah.
what I sent to people was a bunch of local, different ways different communities have
I have some in
regulated
my
solar
possession
panels.
now
But
from others.
I'll forward to you what I sent to the board, and I had also sent on that sustainable.
So you
West
could-
Well,
End.
things like that, and actually the conversation you guys are about to have is important for us to know, because we're in the process, or we're beginning the process of trying to create checklists for the building department to use specifically for different things that are gonna come before us. So in order to do that, and to make it what the village wants, not what the ARB wants, because we don't do anything that's our opinion. We go by the letter of what we read, just like the ZBA does, of what the village says we should do. So, it's important for us to help use that to formulate the documents. Thanks.
I thank you for sharing all that information, Rick.
Very good, thanks, Rick. Anyone else? All right, review current action items. I don't think I have any.
Not tonight.
Now, you did hand out this sheet,
That's
which I
for-
assume that's for
For the work session.
Well, thank you for getting this to us
Yeah.
the week before.
That's, yeah, I've been trying to do that.
Take care.
Yeah, I know, it's hard to print out otherwise, yeah.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session regarding personnel matter and as well as a volunteer board appointment, so, two things.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.